cool guy, so we're going to hear about some of the work that is going on in Virginia Beach. Thanks.
Are these mics good over?
Yep.
Thank you. I hit my stopwatch, so that's what I want to do is do it time. Well, thank you so much for letting me be here today. I'm really here not so much to talk about landscape architecture, but to talk about story. And it's a story about land, it's a story about community, and how that community can change the face of a landscape. This project is finishing up in November, and I'm going to try to, how much time we have, tell you a little bit more about this. But this is about a piece of property down at Virginia Beach oceanfront that stretches all through here. It's called Pleasure House Point. We don't know why it's called Pleasure House Point. We know this is the Lynnhaven Inlet. A lot of traffic came through here back in the day, bringing goods and services to Virginia Beach. In the interior, why this is Pleasure House Point, we don't know whether it was a bar there or a tavern or whatever, but somebody named it back in the 1700s, Pleasure House Point. It's home to numerous animal species and lots of fish, obviously turtles. It's also been home to a lot of people, dogs, cats, and ATVs that have run over this property for decades. But this, as I was saying, is really a story about civic accomplishment. This property has been there for a long, long time, and there's a community to the north. This is the Ocean Park neighborhood as it exists today. And this community has used this piece of property for a long, long time as their own personal park, even though they don't own it. This is just a view a few years ago. We'll talk a little bit more about the disposition of this part of the property. This is the southeast corner, which plays a big role in the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, which ultimately acquired this property to turn it into, for their use. But it's a cool piece of property. There's some amazing marsh and estuary environments. It has a great deal of U.S. history to it. It basically, in the map here, I'm going to try to explain this because I grew up like right here. And this is, we call this the shower drain of Chesapeake Bay. Everything in the watershed comes down and eddies around and ends up in my house. And so this site is right here, and you can see it's right at the bottom of the Chesapeake Bay. It has huge influences from storms, huge influences from pollution. And so this was a site that everybody was very interested in to see what it could possibly be in the future. So roll the tape back, 1937. Pleasure House Point is just an extension of a lot of sand and maritime forests, a great deal of marsh. And you can see how big that marsh is at that time. At this time, these were railroad tracks that connected the railway. There was a great deal of traffic from Chicago and New York and Boston. People would take the train down, they come into Norfolk, they go to the Virginia Beach oceanfront, and they go to historic Cavalier and drink downstairs in the basement illegally and gamble, and then go on back to America. You can begin to see the initial parts of the Ocean Park neighborhood, which was basically accessed by Jeep. They're just sand trails running through the property. Fast forward 1958, the City of Virginia Beach builds the Lessner Bridge. It's now currently being replaced. But the neighborhood is getting a little bit more detailed. But you can still see this is very much a native maritime forest with wetland fringes and riparian buffers. Then you go to 1974, and this is when all things changed. The owner of this property is a guy named Wayne McCleskey, who passed away a few years ago. Very, very wealthy man, philanthropist in Virginia Beach. Wayne used to ride around Saturday mornings with the transportation maps in the city of Virginia Beach. He was going to look out 50 years and go out and farm land, buy up land where a future intersection was going to be. That's how he made millions of dollars, because that intersection came and he owned all the land around it. So Wayne made a deal with the Corps of Engineers. Tell you what, Corps, I'll let you dredge the Lynnhaven Inlet, and I'll let you come over here and dump all your spoil on my land. And so what he did was essentially took pristine wetland that was not buildable and turned it into buildable land with the grace of the Corps of Engineers at the taxpayer's expense. Very shrewd businessman. And So that's Pleasure House Point in 1974. These are the deposition sites. There's 7 feet of fill on top of the site. Those pristine wetlands are gone. You can see the drainage ditches where they replaced the soil. They built a berm around it. It was a mess. So fast forward to 1990, the dredging operations finally stopped. You can see some of the dewatering ponds. You can see the berm on the outside that held in the beginnings of nature trying to heal itself back on the site. Maritime forest is starting to creep to the south again. Today, it's an amazing place. Again, 55 years of trespassing by the public. All these people have come down and used this park. This is trail systems that's just set up by people's use. Private land, they just let them come out with their ATVs, the whole thing is a mess. Down in the corner is the most damaged part of the site. It's really taken a long time for it to regain back to its natural state. Pleasure House Point, as it existed before we got started, starting to heal. There's a lot of sand, a lot of trails, again, a lot of wetland marshes and fringes. So, Mr. McCleskey sells the land to L.M. Sandler Development Corporation. And L.M. Sandler hires, one of the national recognized planners, architects, civil engineers, all these guys to come in and design a really cool project. And this is what it was going to be. It's called Indigo Dunes. It was hundreds and hundreds of condominium units, single-family housing, some really cool stuff going along. The marsh it was really, got to pretty high-end design, high level of design. These were the drawings and exhibits that were created to go through rezoning processes and go through wetland wars and things of that sort. So L.M. Sandler had a project. It was a 69-acre waterfront development. I want to live there. This is cool. I mean, look at this waterfront, big towers on the corner. Everything's great. The Shore Drive community got wind of this and said, hell no. So grassroots people got together and formed the Shore Drive Community Coalition and went after it. And what these people were able to do, because these people are billionaires, what they were able to do was show up at every wetland board meeting, every BMRC meeting, every planning commission meeting, fill the room with people opposing it to the point where the people up on the board would defer it, and they kept deferring it, and they kept deferring it, and they wouldn't take action on it. And what ultimately happened was the economy tanked in 2007. The project tanked because they had stalled. They didn't kill it, they stalled. They effectively stalled the project so that it just kept going on for months and months and months. So Wells Fargo Bank took the property back and it went into receivership. So the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, based in Annapolis, I'm sure all you all know about, they've been trying to find a site in Tidewater for many, many years, so they find out about this. So somehow the Chesapeake Bay Foundation has got a relationship with the Trust for Public Land. I'm sure you've all heard about the Trust for Public Land. We learned that Wells Fargo had a relationship with the Trust for Public Land. They're right across the street from each other in San Francisco. And so Wells gets contacted by Chesapeake Bay Foundation, Lynn Haven River Now, great grassroots organization, and the city of Virginia Beach going, hey, we're interested in this piece of property. Let's figure out how this might work. So what ultimately did work is that Wells Fargo passed the land as a donation and a loss and a tax write-off to the Trust for Public Land because they're a nonprofit. The nonprofit turned around and sold the land for $11 million so they could help recoup. $10 million went to the city of Virginia Beach. They paid for that, their part of the property, and 10 acres were purchased by the Chesapeake Bay Foundation for $1 million. So now we got the land. So the land's gone from a multi-million-dollar condominium complex to a passive park for the city of Virginia Beach. Well, we thought everybody would be really happy. We saved this park, no condos, no traffic, everything like that. Same damn people show up and start fighting us because the Chesapeake Bay Foundation wants to put a little dinky environmental headquarters on the corner. So we had to start all over again. Yeah, we were kind of with them pushing to get this thing back. Now we got to get them in and say, come on, man, this is environmental headquarters. We really need to have this. So we went through, and you will learn about this, and those practitioners in the room know about this. You keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So we set up a stakeholder group. We got everybody, we got the most upset people out of all of that crowd, brought them in, and set up stakeholder meetings and went through the design process of what it is we were trying to do in terms of the park and what CBF was trying to do in terms of the parcel down at the end. So our firm was retained to do a master plan for the city of Virginia Beach for the park. And the park basically consisting of all of this property. And it was fairly simple. We were going to let maritime forest happen where it was going to happen. We set up, and basically the city came in and cleaned up the trails that have already been used in years and years. We actually are coming in and breaching these berms that were built to allow the water to flow back into the site to create wetlands. We've got a kayak launch planned, and we've got some successional soft meadow and recreation areas planned. So we were able to turn this back into a park very quickly, and it is a park, high usage today, called Pleasure House Point Natural Area. Of course, everybody's happy now. We've got the park. Of course, the politicians showed up. It had absolutely nothing to do with it. They get credit for it. They're all happy. Everybody's kayaking. We put in some railings to keep the ATVs out. The park is in good shape. However, we've got to build this environmental center. It's critical. We felt it's really important. So I want to talk a little bit about Chesapeake Bay Foundation and their advocacy. This is the Philip Merrill Center in Annapolis. It was done back in 2000. Chesapeake Bay Foundation, a lot of you folks know this stuff. They believe that if they educate the public about water quality, that it'll change in time. It's kind of like that fish story, that it's better to teach somebody how to fish than to just give them a fish. So they're really into the education model, to teach people about water quality. You all know all this stuff. It comes from agriculture, urban runoff, wastewater treatment facilities. That's basically part of their message. But part of this partnering is that they wanted a headquarters down here. It's the bottom of the Chesapeake Bay. So CBF takes the worst part of the site. They came down and took these 10 acres, had the most fill on it, and had the least regeneration. This was the worst part of the site. So their goal was to take and create an environmental center down at the Chesapeake. They've already been down here, and these are actually photographs of them prior to building this facility. They have a huge education program based out of their Norfolk office, soon to be relocated to Virginia Beach. CBF built the Merrill Center in 2000, the first LEED Platinum building ever in the world. If you ever go to Annapolis, I highly recommend going and taking the tour. It's a phenomenal building, but they set that standard a long, long time ago. It's 56% less energy than any building of its age at that time. However, when we got brought into this project and got started on this, the goal was LEED Platinum, leave them in the dust. We want to set a whole new level of LEED. We don't even have a name for it yet. Remember one of the people there saying LEED on steroids? Well, they got a new name. The Living Building Challenge is basically the criteria for their project in Virginia Beach. And a lot of this is LEED, but it's based on 7 petals: site, water, energy, health, materials, equity, and beauty. And each petal has roughly 20 imperatives, things that you have to do to be able to get credit for these different categories. The Living Building Challenge is set up on 4 typologies: landscape, neighborhood, building, and renovation. This is how they break down land. It's also, there's probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 that are actually certified in the world. There's several that are underway or in the process right now. But this is another level of green, that's another color I had never seen before, in as many years as I've practiced. Just looking back to sites, since most of you all are landscape architects or landscape architectural students, dealing with site, obviously they want to limit growth. They're really into urban agriculture where we can on sites. They're interested in habitat exchange and car-free living. These are just some of the petals and the imperatives when it came to the site design for this. They also break landscapes down into living transects, natural habitat up through urban core zone. This is actually how the Living Building Challenge breaks up landscapes. So, back to our site, we started the design process. This is the portion, roughly the 10 acres that CDF took. We've got a large stand of loblolly pines here, but this part is a mess. I mean, it looks like a desert. It's just taken a long, long time to come back. But that's what they wanted to do, is they wanted to regenerate this site as part of their process. So we started, the first day of this project was a green charrette. And they flew in the top lead people from all over the world. They flew in this guy, Jason McClellan. And Jason is the current president of the International Living Future Institute, which started the Living Building Challenge. This guy gets off the plane at 6 o'clock in the morning in Norfolk. He's taking the red eye from Seattle. He's still in his business suit, and he's going to come out and we're meeting, and it's like 28 degrees in Tidewater, so it's like Arctic for us. And we're walking around, and this guy, it's like Sermon on the Mount. We shall have no cars on this property. We shall have no petroleum on this property. We shall limit what we touch. We shall this, we shall that. And I'm looking at my colleague going, this guy's never done site planning. He's never submitted a site plan to City of Virginia Beach. There's no way in heck we're going to get this approved. I was wrong. I was definitely wrong. So we went through the green charrette process. We came up with ideas and thoughts during that. We got stakeholders back in. We were very transparent about this process. Because it was critical to us. Here are these people that spent their lives for years trying to get this piece of property back. And the last thing we wanted to do was go over here in the corner and design something and go, here it is. So they were very much involved in that process throughout. So we did all this typical landscape architecture stuff. You know, we moved with a bunch of drawings that really don't mean anything. We know where the wind blows. We know where the sun is. Not that big a deal. We know what it means. So we took, this is the actual buildable area of the site. The Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act requires that you set back all land disturbance 100 feet from the upper limits of marsh, wetland, and water. Chesapeake Bay Foundation chose to double that. So what you see here is a 200-foot wide buffer from the water. So that was our development envelope right in this location. There's a sand trail that came out here that tied into a trail here. It was overrun by ATVs. So remember that trail, and there was a stand of loblolly pines up there. We tried to site the facility as best we could. We ran topographic surveys, which is really interesting and sand because by the time we put the equipment back in the truck, the topos changed. So we were like doing topos every 2 weeks to get this thing under control. Yes, it floods. We spent an enormous amount of time out in the field studying rap lines, you know, where the storm took the debris, videotaping the nor'easter in 2009, I think it was, or 2011, the one that just inundated us for like 6 days. It basically set horizontal and vertical alignment of this building, where it goes, and how high it went. We certainly are cognizant of sea level rise, which one side of me goes, I get it, the other side of me goes, I don't get it. We set this building up so we buy 500 years of sea level rise. That's awesome. There's a soul on earth that'll be there in 500 years. The building will be there, maybe you have to take a boat to get to it, but I mean, it costs a fortune to raise this building up to elevation 14.66. So we did the analysis that everybody does on site. We characters on the site that really meant a lot, and that was an interesting thing because people use this as a dumping grounds for years. The Living Building Challenge says everything has to be native and indigenous on the site. So when somebody was tired of the pampas grass in their yard, they just rolled it on down to Pleasure House Point and threw it out there. They also brought loads of topsoil, gravel, rocks, and mulch from their yard. What happened is seed set in that topsoil and changed the complexion of the vegetation on the site. We had to go take all that stuff out. So we got back to pristine native maritime forest. We located all the turtle nests on the site. we had a full understanding of what we were impacting and not impacting. Again, I just talked to you about vegetation, but this was kind of the beginnings of what, this was the sketch we did with Jason, who just flown in from Seattle. That's as far as we're going, guys, we're out. You can see basically what is beginning to evolve. There is no parking on this site. I take that back, there's one handicap stall and a drop off for the FedEx guy. Everybody parks off site and walks. So that was basically, we located the project here along that sand trail that I was telling you about earlier. So our site plan is very simple. You come in Winston Place, and you park, you walk into the building, it's connected with trails, we have a drop off that goes back out, and the building is set in a location based on solar orientation and capturing and scooping up wind. Pretty amazing thing. You can see that building, how insignificant it is in the whole scheme of 122 acres of Pleasant House Point. So after we showed the community this photograph, it was like, really? Is this really a big deal? It's not. It's not. It was minimal impact to the site. So for you students, this is what the gobbledygook gets you. This is the construction documents just showing you the roadway going in, the site plan, all the geothermal wells and everything associated with that to get stuff built. We did some interesting things in terms of rainwater management, permeable pavers with bioswales, and the entry road. This is the first permeable paver section approved by the City of Virginia Beach Department of Public Works in history. We're very proud of this. It was not easy. There are no pipes, no basins, no inlets, no nothing. Everything is treated in the right way. It was not easy. The Public Works people on the other side of the table were like, I can't wait to get these drawings and bleed all over them. The mayor wanted this project, and he sent it down. There was an infamous 15-second meeting with Public Works, with the director, who basically said, you will approve this project and you will approve everything they send in. From then on, it went like rain gardens around the building. A lot of the rain is actually harvested. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a second. I think I'm going to have time. But, you know, it's a simple concept. What isn't harvested comes off the roof. We do rain gardens right around the outside of the building. For those of you who are learning about planting design around your building, no more it's not aesthetics. Vegetation is completely tied to stormwater. And so everything outside the building is now depressed, so it will actually trap and treat water. Gray water, interesting story. It took us 8 months to get the approval to use rainwater in sinks and showers and wash sinks. And that water comes, it's put in an underground system, and it's piped out and piped up because we had to maintain 18 inches of separation between the seasonal groundwater and the bottom of that infiltration in order to gain health department approval. So this is what it looked like about 3 weeks ago. The Smith Group in Washington, D.C. is the architect. The building is like nothing I've ever worked on ever. Again, you know, the living building challenge in itself is an amazing story. Here's the back deck under construction. You can see the wind turbines that are up. And we saved those pines for a serious reason. This is the view from the neighborhood. All you see is 2 wind turbines. So we really tried to hide this project as best we could. I can go on here for another 5 minutes. I think I got 7 minutes. Sorry, I'm going to bore you some more. We talk a little bit about the architecture. I think it's really important. This is a very sophisticated green building. We're getting to net zero energy mainly by conservation. How they operate the building, the type of people that work for CDF ride their bike there. They all own Renault cars. I mean, in our contract, in our design contract, when we rented a car, BWI, to get to Annapolis, we had to rent a hybrid. It was in our design contract. So that is the whole design process, construction, everything is the greenest it can possibly be. A great deal of effort goes into just how the building was positioned, how they shade the summer sun, and how they welcome the winter sun, and how that affects daylighting in the building. They only use lights at night and maybe on a dark, cloudy winter day. The light moved back through. You can see this is actually the daylighting scheme going back into the building. There aren't any partitions that come up to the ceiling. A lot of light is bounced through and bounced back there. Wind was a big deal. I was talking to you about positioning. Obviously, the summer breezes down there come out of the southwest, and they capture winds in the winter that come out of the north. And when I was at the Merrill Center, the first time in Annapolis, I'm standing there talking to some people like you, over in a corner, like that exit sign. The sign comes on and says, "Please open your window." What a novel idea. So everybody gets up and they go over and they crank open their window, and that starts a natural ventilation process and doesn't turn the air conditioning on. So this is how these people and the Chesapeake Bay Foundation operate their facility and how they get to this net zero. Energy production, this was a really fun story. We're working with Dominion Virginia Power. We all work with Dominion Virginia Power down in Virginia Beach in our area. We need them to run electricity out there, but they usually run it for free. They give you a meter because you're going to buy electricity the rest of your life. And one of the guys that runs this, the area down there is Max Bartholomew. So I call up Max, we're ready to get the power, but guess what? We're going to sell electricity back to you guys. And so that was a big deal, trying to get them to run the stuff in there. But 60% of the energy comes from photovoltaics, which is not necessarily cheap, but you combine that with 40% of the energy coming from the wind turbines, and we get to that net zero. Water is interesting and complicated. City water will go direct to sprinkler the building. Rainwater will be used in hand washing, drinking, and showers. That took 8 months for the health department to get them to approve that. That water drains into gray water infiltration outside, is treated on site. The toilet. The first time I went to the bathroom in the Merrill Center, I was in there for half an hour. It was fascinating. Go to the bathroom, way down there somewhere it goes, and there's a little can next to it with pine chips, and you throw your pine chips in, and I'm going, you gotta be kidding me. The solids are composted, and once it's composted, we're going to use it for fertilizer on the site. The liquids are picked up monthly. It goes to a struvite reactor that turns it into commercial fertilizer that will be available in the garden centers in Virginia Beach. Zero waste. I learned more about toilets in this project than I've ever wanted to know. We did a lot of work on rain and roof area and how much water we were actually going to get, and felt that all worked correctly. This is a really cool piece of living building challenge. These logs were timbered back in the 1800s. And the barges in Louisiana, then you know this story, but I mean, big cypress logs, and the barge would go around the corner, a bunch of them would roll off, and they go, no big deal, we'll keep going. The big deal now is everybody's down there salvaging these logs. And so we got these logs, we moved to Virginia Beach, we milled them, that's the siding for the building, totally reclaimed product. We took the gym out of Lake Taylor High School, and we're using the floor in CDF. We took cabinets out of local hospital, sinks, everything is reclaimed from another demolition project in Taiwan. So that gets into, talk about sustainability and meeting the living building challenge. Then there's the red list. These products are not allowed to touch the site. Check this one out. You ever known of a building without a PVC pipe in it? Not allowed on site. So that set the standard in terms of chemicals on the site. When that guy was walking around that freezing February morning, he was dead serious. We're not putting petroleum on the site. We're not putting any of the stuff on the site. Even the construction practices. Oregon Construction, great firm, has the most sustainable construction office I've ever seen in my life. It's one-off photovoltaics. They've got a mobile photovoltaic array that travels around the site that powers all the skill saws and drills and everything like that, with no power to the site. There's an emergency generator with no power to the site. At night, when they move the backhoe over, it's parked at night over top of bladder, which traps all the hydraulics that might drop onto the property overnight. They wouldn't let any working on the site with their cars. Everything was, this was a big deal even during the construction process to control that. The other thing that was very interesting is change in the construction industry. This is a paperless construction office. You can go in there with the subcontractor and the plumber and the electrician, and pull up BIM and Revit models of how you're supposed to wire stuff through a wall, drill right down on that. They go out in the field and tell. So, I mean, that's the level at which this project has been done. And I'm really proud to say we brought Pressure House Point to Brian 3 years ago, and Mente and others. There was a studio, they did some historic cultural landscape work on this. There was a huge relationship between this project and Virginia Tech. And that's worked itself. There was a third-year design competition in architecture that some student won. And then lastly, Oregon Construction is connected real-time with building construction here on a daily basis. And those kids in building construction are helping them with BIM and Revit models and the 3D work that they're doing. So that's the story. So anybody have any questions? I'm happy to try to entertain. Yes, Chuck?
Billy, you tell a very good story. I'll be interested to see how this evolves with
The dedication is November 19th, and the flyer says, not dedication, it says unplugging ceremony.
I'm interested to know, I think maybe the students are too, if you could share with us how the multidisciplinary team was organized as a team of consultants. Maybe the master plan would be of more interest to understand how the restorative decisions might have been influenced by agronomists, environmentalists, foresters, or maybe, and what the role of the landscape architect. Did you lead the whole thing?
We got that first call in 2010, and we're landscape architects and surveyors. So we actually were the first consultants involved in the project and helped them with due diligence and feasibility to find out if it was worth their $1 million, CDF would buy that piece. So we were first on board. At some point in time, they decided, and we thought it was time, after we had master planned the entire 122 acres, they needed to go out for an architect. And that started out as, okay, well, we've got these 3 or 4 people, Smith Group, Washington, D.C., now Smith Group, JJR, did the Merrill Center in 2000, so they're on the list, and these other couple people, we'll just talk to them. Well, this is where politics got involved, and by the time it was all said and done with the Methodist and board members, there's 35 architects now getting the architect. They narrowed it down to 3. Smith Group, Ziegler, CGF, and DC, and I think it was Wardeck and Sargent out of Atlanta. We were on 2 teams, Smith Group and CGF. We were not on the 3rd team. So we went through that whole interview process, and JJR with Smith Group brought some ecologists to the table. They were from Wisconsin, so this was all new stuff to them. I'm just from around the corner, so it was a great interface working between the 2. But landscape architects played the role in master planning the 122 acres, and then we were the ones that did the site plans. We have an interesting office. It's more landscape architects and surveyors. We have 2 PEs, which is a ticket to do anything. And so primarily landscape architects design this facility, and the engineers help with the needing to help out. Yes?
Yeah, I have a question. First of all, I'd just like to say it's a really fascinating project, and I really appreciated how you gave us the historical perspective through all the decades, and then left us with a really sort of forward-thinking, hopefully looking practices that will become more common in the future. But I guess one of the obstacles to this kind of work, I think, is always the issue of cost. As you mentioned, the voltaic, all the practices, the construction practices, and recycling practices can be much more costly than the way, the sort of conventional way of doing things. So I'm kind of curious as to whether there's a process in place of monitoring, not sort of cost benefit in the sense of, yes, how much extra overcost we've incurred by applying these kinds of innovative practices in comparison to the long-term cost savings that this building and this landscape, not only the building itself, but the landscape will achieve.
Well, I will tell you, it's a very expensive building. You could probably build a really nice emergency room for this, per square foot. But they've done that cost analysis and their paybacks fairly quickly in their minds. They were more interested in the education, like I'm doing today, than they are about the money. They knew it was going to be expensive out of the gate. They hired Smith Group is a very talented architectural practice. Oregon, Skanska is the project. I forgot Skanska. They're the project manager, and they're huge. So you're right. It's a very expensive building, but I think it had more to do with their ability to educate the public on how you can do this, and it can be done. And we've got a living building challenge here in Virginia Beach, and we were able to recycle part of your high schools, and just the whole story needs way more money. But there is very much set in place the ability to track the cost, how much was spent from feasibility study on, because it was a very detailed project, and we laugh, this thing is just a big tool shed. It's not that big, not that big. So that more to be revealed. It takes a year or two of monitoring to actually get that certification from the building challenge.
But I think that, projecting forward over time, obviously the benefits accrue more and more over time as energy